call to order the 6:14 regular meeting for the Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. It's been a very jam-packed day, so thank y'all for bearing with us as we get going again at this hour. And at this time, I would like to ask Vice Chairman Conley to do invocation for the board as we make our decisions for the people of the county.
Dear Lord, we come to you tonight in prayer to ask for your guidance to do the people's business. We ask for you to help our county, our country, our world. Things have changed so much. There's so much evil in this world. There's so many directions we don't know which way to go sometimes. We ask for guidance to navigate our daily lives and to live in honor of you and to keep us all safe. Thank you for all you have done for us and provide for us. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Manager Moll, would you go over adjustments for the agenda this evening, please?
Absolutely, thank you. The first item is to add a personnel closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A6. And then we are removing under administrative matters, item 8.1. That will come back at a later date.
All right, motion to approve the adjusted agenda.
Make a motion.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you so much. We'll continue on down this evening. The next thing we do have is an appointment before the board with Miss Deborah Howell. And boy, do you have. Everyone came to see you this evening, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Manager Moll, would you like to set the stage for us, please?
Absolutely. Ms. Howe is the director of Iredell County Adult Day Services, and they have received new licensing, and they're providing additional services to Iredell County citizens, and she wants to inform the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, Ms. Moll. Thank you for allowing us to speak. And no, I'm not going to ask you for any money, but rather I want to tell you about one of Iredell County's best-kept secrets. Iredell Adult Day Services, formerly known as Elder Center, has been providing services to some of our most vulnerable citizens for the last 37 years. Citizens with cognitive, physical, and intellectual challenges. But our participants play games, they exercise, they go on field trips, they have fun. We are open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5. We provide our participants with a home-cooked breakfast, lunch, and afternoon snack. We not only provide services for our participants, but their caregivers also benefit from our services. If it weren't for our Iredell Adult Day Services, participants would sit at home or have to live in a nursing home. But by taking advantage of our program, caregivers can have the best of both worlds. They can have their loved ones home with them and still continue with their careers, not putting their families in any kind of financial crisis. For many years, we wanted to expand our licensing to become an adult day health center. As an adult day health center, we would be able to accept folks who are chronically ill and still need daily monitoring. We achieved this licensing last April and are now a North Carolina licensed adult day care, adult day health combination program. Now I'm going to ask you to bear with me just a moment. And I want you to sit there and I want you to imagine you're 85 years old. You live by yourself in a small apartment. All you do every day is watch TV. You might hear from your children once or twice a week, but they're busy. They have families and they have jobs. You don't drive anymore, so you don't go anywhere. What you do is watch TV and worry. You live off of your Social Security for $1,000 a month. You have to pay your rent, your utilities are due, and you have 5 prescriptions to pick up. $1,000 is not going to do it. You worry some more. What are you going to do? Rent, utilities, food? I'd like to introduce you to Taisha Peak. She's going to tell you about a program available right here in Iredell County.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us here today. Again, my name is Taisha, and I am with the PACE program in Lexington called Carolina Senior Care. We cover Iredell, Davie, Davidson, and Rowan County. And what our program is an all-inclusive program that provides comprehensive services for those who are 55 years of age and older. So what Deborah has spoken about is our day center that we're in connection with, but we also provide a comprehensive health care with medical and non-medical services to seniors. The purpose of the program is to allow for those who are 55 years of age and older to remain home, also remain out of the nursing homes, but also out of the hospitals that they may continue to visit due to the limited funds and resources that are there before them. So the services that we provide are transportation. We become the primary care physician. We provide medical and non-medical care. Partnering with a PACE program will prevent those waiting lists that are often happening in the counties, whether it be transportation, Meals on Wheels, and also home care when we're partnering with the caregiver. So not only do we provide relief and prevention of isolation for the aging population, we also provide services for the caregiver. If you think of an example of your mom and she has dementia, you don't want her to go to a nursing home because financially the family can't afford it, and that was something that you and your mother did not agree to. However, she's unsafe at home, so we are the individuals that create that safe environment to allow them to age in place at home and prevent them from having to leave their community, but also helping the county as a whole so that the funds that are being used for those different resources and limiting also the waiting list so that our seniors are being provided the services that are needed within the county. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Taisha. All of those services are available for PACE clients at no cost to them. Imagine. So if you know of anyone that could benefit from our services, we gave the ladies over here some of our flyers with contact information. Give us a call. We'd love to show you around our place, see what it's like. We have lots of folks there that we love to have visitors. Anybody have any questions for me?
How long have you been volunteering or spending time?
Well, I was on the board, and then I became a contract worker, and I took over the position of director last fall.
Okay, because I knew you'd been involved for years. I would run into you that one time when Andy Lackey was out there doing a magic show.
Yes,
several
the
years back with
magician.
that. Yes,
Uh-huh.
on that one too, so.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
It's a service that is critical to and you're right, a lot of folks aren't even aware of it, so.
Well, it's amazing how much longer folks are living these days. I don't have those statistics with me, but it's projected that within the next 20 years, there's going to be twice as many people 65 years and older living in this country alone.
It just speaks volumes of how we're recognizing the needs of the population. However, I'm not sure how I felt about the 55 and older part of that, so I think you just targeted our board.
Well,
Nothing personal though, right?
nothing personal. Thank you very much.
I
Thank you.
know, in the past, when it was elder care, there was someone that,
Except you.
significant in me that attended there and someone now that uses your services. And I know how well you do and the service you provide. So very, very thankful for you being there, Deborah.
Thank you.
And I do want to say that it's nice to see a young lady out with her elderly father tonight. So,
I keep telling Dad that, you know?
so it's good to see. It's good to see that you still spend quality time with your father.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. All right. Manager Moll, hand it right back over to you because we're going down our agenda for a public hearing.
Absolutely. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing to consider a request regarding an amendment to the Land Development Code, and Mr. Matthew Todd is here to make this presentation to the board.
Good evening to the board.
Good evening.
The text amendment we have before us tonight involves several aspects, so I'm going to touch on all of those just briefly, and then dive into a little more. text amendment includes addressing minimum lot size and density based on our recently adopted 2045 Horizon Plan. Also clarification on a 200-foot setback that already exists in the code, and just clarifying when that applies. Increased height allowed in the HB zoning district. Currently it's set at 35. We're proposing to increase it to 50. This we've heard concerns of over the years, and that would match the GB zoning district. Also, addition of the 2070 language that this board's recently familiar with that changed at the state level, and just putting it in the ordinance. Before it was the 1070 with the watershed, now it's 2070. The other is just terminology from the old 2030 plan versus the 2045 plan. And also additional clarifications with calculations in the watershed. The text amendment that we've heard some questions about is dealing with the lot size and density proposals. And I'll show some maps to where these apply. But essentially, if you're developing or subdividing less than 5 lots, or if it's an exempt plat, there's no changes to those minimum lot sizes. The changes come into play if you're going to subdivide 6 or more lots, creating a major subdivision. And there's 3 different tiers in the county, in certain areas, that are either 5 acres, 1 acre, or ½ acre. This is a map from the 2030 Horizon Plan showing future land use designations throughout the county. This map shows all those land use designations, but the area we're focusing with the lot size are the areas in green. So you see the North Iredell above the South Yadkin River is a certain shade of green on the screen. That area would have the 5 acre lot size. The area just around the nodes or around Union Grove, around Tomlin Mill, also around Love Valley, have 1 acre lot size, as well as the watershed for the Back Creek and Cottle Creek to the southeast of Mooresville that's also green. That's a 1 acre area. That area is actually already 1 acre minimum lot size based on the watershed. The lighter color green just below the South Yadkin and kind of comes around on the west and east fringes of the city of Statesville, those would be stipulated at ½ acre lot sizes. And in general, for these areas, the existing lot size is around a ½ acre. It does change a little bit based off zoning district and based off watershed. This is just a zoomed in map of the same image just to kind of show you the areas, mostly those areas around Union Grove and Tomlin Mill and Love Valley, to where that really extends, that 1 acre requirement extends pretty far out from those center points. So if you're a property within those, I'll say those nodes, then the 1 acre is what you'd be looking at. Some of the questions we've heard is, can I subdivide a lot for my children? And yes, if you own some land in these areas, you could subdivide out a lot for your daughter or son. You'd meet the current minimums that are in place, not the new proposed minimums. Also, we've heard the question, can I subdivide a lot to sell? Again, if you're going to cut out a total of 5 lots, so the example on the screen shows you got a 50 acre tract, you're cutting out 4 lots. You could sell those, no questions asked. You would not have to meet the new minimum requirements, whether it's the 5 acre, the 1 acre. And again, the ½ acre is somewhat negligible because that's pretty standard. So just to hit on it again, the main change is for a major subdivision, which is 6 or more lots. And these are the different kind of scenarios. You could have someone in that darker green area come in and cut 5 acre tracts out, similar to that image on the left. They could also cluster those in. So they just couldn't increase that density over 1 unit per 5 acres. So they could pull all those down toward the road or wherever on the lot they want to have those. The tier 2 is the 1 acre. and the Tier 3 is the half acre on the screen. Those both would require the open space requirements be met that are already established in the code. That really summarizes the text amendment that we have before you tonight.
Can you go back to that previous slide at the beginning? And you and I talked about that 200-foot buffer. Will you just explain what that clarity you're looking for is about? Because we had some citizens call and ask about that. Go back to that slide that showed your 200-foot setback.
Well, and this map will help describe the
gotcha.
200 foot.
Okay.
So if the 200-foot setback has been in place for a number of years now, and it addresses the house location and well location for a subdivision that falls into essentially the light green area and the dark green area on the map. So the reference, and that's part of the changes with the code, a couple things going on there. One is that reference currently in our code references the 2030 Horizon Plan. Those areas did shift a little bit. But if you're a bona fide farm, you're identified with the tax department on the present use, present use, there's a 200-foot setback in place, not for you, but for the residential development that comes in next to you, to be 200 feet for their house locations and their wells from that property line. And the language also, I mean, currently I think it just said from a farm, and as easy as that should be to define what a farm is, at times it can be very difficult. So we're just tying it directly to, if you've got present use, then you're gonna have that setback in place.
Thank you. We were just asked that, board, citizens had called and Matthew clarified that, what that means.
So when we were doing this, did we ask the Farm Preservation Board to give us their input?
No, we did not.
I think that's somebody we ought to look at to see what they think, and, I mean, since they handle a lot of that for the farms.
Do we have any further questions for Matthew this time? All right.
Not this time.
Not at this time? All right, then I will open the public hearing in regards to this matter. And I will do the best not to ruin your pronunciation of your name. And the first person we have signed up to speak this evening is Sean Turner. So Sean's going to kick us off this evening. And if you would, state your name and address when you get to the podium.
I'm Sean Turner. I'm from Harmony. I am a farmer and business owner, but also I also served on this 2045 Horizon Committee. And you did not mess my name up. Thank you. Looking throughout the crowd, I think I'm probably the only person in here that was on that committee. So I may be the only dummy out of that, but I want to speak up and say from this, the time that I spent with Jake, Matthew on this was a lot of time on the whole total 2045 Horizon plan that we put together. We didn't have enough time. We could have worked just on farmland and trying to preserve farmland probably for 3 or 4 weeks every night. It takes a lot to put all this together. Trying to throw something together to make sure we worked on conservation, this was part of the plan and what was put together. I'm standing before you tonight telling you the Tier 1 is not a good thing for the northern end of Iredell County. I'm saying that on behalf of Sean Turner. I'm also saying it on behalf of the town of Harmony. I'm also saying that probably representing a lot of the farmers here tonight. We need more time to look at this. It needs to be a better way. Farmland preservation is a big way of looking at this. You have some farmland preservation people in here the house tonight. They need to be a part of that. Also, by doing this, this would drive the land prices through the roof for us as farmers. And I'll say that North Iredell High School graduates somewhere around 240 students every year. If 10% of those graduates tried to buy a piece of land and build a home in North Iredell, by doing this, this is going to drive them out of the price range to be able to afford to live in North Iredell. That's not what we want. That's not what you want. We need to really look at this. We need to look at what is going on if this was going on in other places throughout North Carolina, throughout the nation. We need to look at this before we implement something as serious as this is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sean.
And I neglected to mention it is a 5-minute time frame, and Sean even came in under that. Next, we have Ken Robertson.
Hello, my name is Ken Robertson. I'm a member of the Farmland Preservation Advisory Board. Our chairman, Jim Dobson, is not feeling well, so I'll speak in his place. H.L. Mencken said, "For every complex problem, there's a solution that's simple, easy, and wrong." I come today offering no easy solutions. There is a saying, and that is, vision controls behavior. And if you think about it, if you have the vision to buy a house, you spend less money on some items so that you can save up for a down payment. Vision controls your behavior. If you're a high school student that wishes to gain acceptance to an elite university, you'll probably study harder. Again, your vision controls behavior. In government, legislative bodies like yourself provide services and create policy. That policy is typically meant to either encourage or discourage behaviors of its citizens. If vision indeed does control or influence behavior, before you set policy to influence behavior, you really need first to have a defined vision. Stephen Covey wrote in the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said one of those habits was begin with the end in mind. So before we make any decisions on policy, let's make sure that we have a clear vision of where we want this journey of development to end. I attended several of the meetings when the planning staff met with the public to get input on the 2045 Horizon Plan before it was ever written. I heard almost everyone express their desire to protect the rural feel and the agricultural roots of the county. That was not disputed, that was widely felt. Notice, they did not say to stop building anything, anywhere, ever again. They didn't say that, but they said we got to protect the rural feel. And I believe those sentiments are generally represented well in the 2045 plan. If your end state for Iredell County, if your end state vision for Iredell County is that 5, 10, or 15 short years from now, that we will look like Huntersville, that's important because we can do that. We can decide that the model of success for our community, for our county, is subdivision, 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 Bojangles, Target, subdivision, subdivision, Longhorn Steakhouse, blah, blah, blah. Without vision, we'll morph right into all those towns and counties whose names are all but forgotten that are surrounding big cities just like Atlanta and Charlotte. The development model is generally the same. They have the same looking subdivisions, the same national stores, the same chain restaurants as every other town that is now a bedroom community of a big city. We become only known as part of the Charlotte area. Or we can take a stand to preserve the way of life we value so greatly. But first, we have to ask ourselves about that end state. How much is enough? Exactly how many of the exact same stores do we need? How many is enough? How many of the same gas stations is enough? How many of the same fast food restaurants is enough? How many subdivisions is enough? Right now, there are almost 22,000 residential units on the books that can be built. 22,000. How high must our taxes be raised to build all the schools for all the children that are moving into these subdivisions? 30 seconds. When is that enough? How many farms do we have to lose? 10%, 25%, 50%, 100%? We know we're going to lose some. How many is enough? Right now, Iredell County is the 28th county in the country losing farmland to residential development. How much is enough? How many farms do we have to lose before we say enough? Now, I ask everyone in here this question. If we see ourselves eventually saying,
And at the end of your question, would you?
I'm done.
Thank you.
We're right here.
Okay.
You took my dramatic ending. I ask everyone here, if you found yourself thinking at some point on one of those questions that enough is enough, I really don't want 100% of the farms gone. I'd like 20% left, 5% left, 10% left, 50%. If you defined some degree of how much we ought to have left of our rural and agricultural roots, then let us start now. Because at some point, we got to decide when we say enough. Let us start now to chart a balanced course, and let's do it before it's too late. Thank you very much for your 5 minutes.
Justin Elam?
My name's Justin Elam. I live at 139 McAllister Road in the Cool Springs area. I grew up and own land that falls in this Tier 1 category, and I'm here to speak in opposition of this current plan. I know we're a little late that the plan was adopted in December, but I feel like there wasn't enough information given out. My father's not on Facebook. He's not on Iredell Free News. I feel like something like this that affects the major landowners, it's about a 160-acre farm and hunt preserve that we have in the north end. And he's fully against anything that restricts what he can do with his land from anybody. He's just old school that way. But, you know, with tax bills coming out every year, something like this that has a major implication to the way that farms could be valued in the future, I think there needs to be a better way to get the community outreach to that, to be able to get information to them on how this is going to affect them, what's going to change per se. You know, one thing I believe I was told is that the 2030 plan is not tied to the current land use development code, and that we're trying to do so by putting the land use code tied to the 2045 Horizon Plan. And I think it should be revisited, like Mr. Turner said when he was speaking, that maybe now that the cat is out of the bag and people are seeing the ramifications, that we need to revisit what this Tier 1 means. Whether that means changing the policy or the plan. Me and my siblings have no intention of selling the family farm and are not keeping it a farm, but we don't want to be told that we can't have to if we had to. I think there should be more community input there. Again, affordability. I've been a real estate agent in Iredell County for 19 years, lived here my whole life. I look back in the last 1,000 days in MLS for north of the South Yadkin River, and there's been 63 homes over the last 1,000 days have been new construction up there. Only 2 of those are new platted subdivisions. So I think we're putting a restriction on land that is trying to stave off a problem that is not a problem yet. These plans, obviously, we're not even in 2030 yet, and we're already adopting a new plan for 2045, so they can be adjusted within the time frame of these plans. Let's wait until it's a problem and we see that we need to curtail growth and save farms if we have to, but let's not make it a point to do so without the need. Again, the affordable housing, right now you want to build on a half acre or an acre. I know one of my friends is a builder here. The lots, even half acre lots, my neighbor's buying a lot beside me for 1 acre. South of this point, it's $30,000, $40,000. You start making it 5 acre lots that you have to go, we need growth, we need housing in the north end, there's a shortage of it. Well, now you take somebody that can develop it and they've got to make 5 acre lots to be able to build a home on. Plus you have a 20% natural area on top of that is restricting land use. So now they've got to put all the money that they pay for the land and infrastructure into less lots, which drives up the lot cost value. Now construction cost on top of that. And blue collar families and farmers in the north end are going to be priced out of being able to live in the north end. They're going to be forced to live south in a higher dense area because they can't live in an area that they want to and have their kids attend schools that they want to. So again, I know the policy has already been adopted in December. My ask is for you to revisit this policy and look at it before tying the land use code to it. And, if that's not an option, then there should be some kind of way with a, special use permit or some kind of option to be able to ask or see if we could change density throughout. We shouldn't have a blanket policy that states that everything in this dark area in Tier 1 has to be 5 acres. There's a lot of land up there that could be developed and maybe have affordable housing neighborhoods that don't necessarily impact a farm. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. West Hunter?
I'm West Hunter, and I farm 2,000 acres in Tier 1 and own well over 1,000 acres. And I don't have much to say, but I'm opposed to this plan as it is now. And I've probably done more than anybody in this room to conserve farmland, so I know what I'm talking about. But I'm opposed to the amendment and this plan. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Michael, I'm going to mess up your last name. Voss? Oh, how bad? How about Michael?
That works.
Okay, thank you.
So my name is Michael Fess,
Oh, I was so
15905.
wrong. Sorry, okay.
15905 Brookway Drive. I represent the Home Builders Association, past chair of the Land Development Committee, current Board of Directors, as well as on the National Subcommittee on Land Use Policy. I just want to state as a gentleman from the Farmland Preservation Society said, this is going to have unintended consequences if you don't start with the end in mind. I've done a number of developments in Iredell County, both inside municipal limits as well as outside. Currently working on a few. One of the number one feedback I get is where are the kids going to go to school? Where are the teachers that are going to come from? Where are they going to live? With Tier 1, Tier 2, this is going to drive up housing prices. So as development comes and you're trying to recruit teachers aren't going to be able to afford to live north of the Yadkin River. They're not going to be able to afford to live north of 40. So the teachers, the firemen, the police, we talk about affordable housing and really what is affordable housing. I was in one rezoning meeting, a developer said, I'm developing 200 affordable houses at a price point of $400,000. That's not affordable. Affordable housing is being able to spend 1/3 or less of your monthly income on your housing costs. And by decreasing the density, by increasing the lot size, you are increasing the costs of those houses. You are only going to have new housing at $400,000, $500,000 if this does get passed. So again, just want you to consider the unintended consequences of how this is going to drive up costs of housing. And it's really where you're going to recruit your teachers from, your policemen, your firemen, to be able to serve the growth that is coming. They're at, as the 22,000 lots that have already been approved, all the people that need to be hired for the services for those lots. They're not going to have housing because they get hired after the tax base has been starting to come as income. So those houses are all going to be sold. There's no new development that's going to happen north of the Yadkin River. That's going to be affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Grant?
Good evening. Matt Grant. I live at 358 Seven Springs Loop. One of the founders of Jordan Grant Associates here in Statesville. We're an engineering survey firm. We do a lot of development. My dad, Gerald Grant, started in '75, has worked with landowners and developers all throughout Iredell County. This plan beats anything I've ever seen. This is such a government overreach in trying to control people's land. This not only affects landowners, it affects me as my business. It affects realtors, it affects attorneys, builders, suppliers. To me, and maybe Lisa, you can answer this is involuntary rezoning. You're putting restrictions on land that is basically a zoning ordinance. And I do not think that's right. Again, this board adopted some changes to the major subdivision back in October of last year. 20% open space, which is a big ordeal. It's not even been in place for a year. Why are we trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist? As your planning department can probably tell you, my firm probably does more land development north of I-40 than any other firm in the state, in this county. And I've got 2 subdivisions going on north of the South Yadkin River. One's 20 lots and one's 12 lots. So again, what problem are we trying to fix with this change? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. So again, I am highly opposed to this. I think you're taking the rights of landowners away, which, again, we're a fairly conservative county. And, again, this is just government overreach, in my opinion. And I think you're taking away people's choices. You've got landowners who may farm now, their children are not going to farm, but yet what are they going to be limited to with this kind of ordinance in place? You're reducing their land value by 2/3. So where somebody may have 100 acres and they need to go, say, to assisted living, their option to sell their land, where they may have got 30,000 acre, now they get 10,000 acre because they can't get anything with it. Again, this is just, it blows my mind that this is even up here, to be quite honest. I mean, 1 unit per 5 acres is absolutely ridiculous. I work all in this regional area. I thought when Lincoln County put a moratorium in place for 1 acre minimums, I thought that was crazy, but that's not that bad. This blows anything I've ever seen. And again, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and I just don't understand how this got to this point. Again, we've got probably 3 of the largest landowners, farmers in northern Iredell County here, and they're opposed to it. And the only reason they're here tonight is because we put the word out to inform people. This was not advertised. This was not promoted. I mean, again, we're front line. As surveyors, we see land coming, we see developers coming, we talk to everybody, planners, everybody. We didn't know about this until May. And the only reason we knew about it was because Jake sent us an email and said, hey, this is coming before the planning board. Nothing. I don't read Iredell Free News. I don't follow Iredell County Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So again, this comes to me, you've worked on this for 18 months, and I find out about it in May. None of these people here knew anything about it. We started spreading word after we found out. So again, this just seems like something that's been pushed through. It is not what the majority wants, and I think it needs to be reconsidered. One other thing about the 200-foot buffer, Gene, you were asking about. So that applies to a major subdivision, and this is for planning department, how this makes sense to me. 200 foot if you do a major subdivision. But I can go in and I can do a minor subdivision of 5 lots, that 200 foot doesn't apply. So those same contaminants or whatever it is we're trying to protect in that 200 foot, if you do a minor, it doesn't hurt those lots. Just something I wanted to point out. Thank you.
Taisha, oh, I'm gonna mess this one up. Dean, Taisha, Tyeshapean.
Spoke in that other thing I did,
Oh, thank you.
the first presentation.
Yep, with Deborah.
Yep.
All right, Chris Cartner.
Good evening. I'm Chris Cartner, live at 202 Moose Farm Drive, Statesville, North Carolina. Not a public speaker at all, but I do just have a few points I want to point out. Some of them's already been made, I reiterate. The first and foremost, a person should be able to do within reason on their property as not to put a burden on their future generations. Seems pretty simple, because like it's been previously stated, my kids may not want to have land. My kids may not can afford to have land. My kids may move off and not even be here. To put them in a position to where they're stuck in this current situation is not really acceptable to me because I've paid taxes here a long time. Second thing, limiting one house per 5 acres will not help preserve farmland. We will use more farmland. As a homeowner places their house in the middle of those 5 acres, that 5 acres becomes unfarmable. 3 of the largest farms are represented here, representing over 10,000 acres that are here to tell you that they're not in favor of this. That should speak volumes to you. The more of them would probably been here if they'd have known. I mean, this will continue to drive more and more land into the city, which is what I think you would not want, as you would want the tax base to stay with y'all. The last thing I'd say, if you want the farmland to stay farmland, find a way to incentivize it to where it makes sense for it to stay farmland. Put in place something that you can allow it to stay farmland for 10 years. Say, hey, we're going to pay you something that makes sense. $100 an acre per year, average rate for farmland pay on rent. That barely covers the taxes. So, I mean, if there's ways that you can incentivize it through farmland preservation, through other grants, through other things that would make sense to someone that had the land that doesn't farm it themselves to leave it in farmland for 10 years. It just needs to financially make sense. I mean, I think that this whole thing should go back to the drawing board and come up with something that makes sense to just not part of Iredell County, but to all of Iredell County. And that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Ben Shelton.
My name is Ben Shelton. I live at 178 Holstein Lane in Olin. I would just say to y'all, I mean, I think y'all have a really hard job. I went to the city council 3 months ago and saw these same kind of decisions, but you hold a lot of power in your hands of what happens with people's wealth and their estates and what's going to happen as they go forward. So kind of like has been said, I didn't know this was going to happen until Mike McLean came into my office last week and said, what do you know about this? And I said, I'll have to plead ignorance. I don't know anything about it, but I've learned a lot tonight about it. And I guess whoever is the one guy that came up with this idea probably doesn't want to stand up and defend that right now, I would say. Probably not. So I would just say definitely I'm opposed to it. I think it's very short-sighted. And you look at, for the ones of us that have invested our whole career as an investment in farmland, the land has already got to the expense that you really don't buy land today and it's really paying for itself on corn and soybeans and milking cows. Your previous land has got to be a big part of that for you to afford that. So what I'm saying is you're buying it as an investment. You're looking forward to your children and your grandchildren of what they're going to do with that. I think this really hamstrings or handcuffs their ability for the wealth that they'll have. So I think that's my position on it. I hope that summarizes what I think a lot of people have just already said. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. David, is it Presley? Presley, I was gonna say, it's gotta be Presley on there. Presley. It is, okay.
Madam Chairman, I'm David Presley. My home is 632 Dogwood. I'm here tonight to speak against these large lot home sites such as 5 acres, and I'm an advocate in terms of public policy of more dense development and closer homes. In terms of public policy and budgets that we will all face in terms of public budgets as well, we know the expense of public safety, we know the expense of fire protection, and the more remote our homes are, the greater the expense for the rest of us, Iredell County taxpayers, are for these public services. Also, we have a logical system in place now which controls home sites, and it relates to public safety. Home sites are regulated pursuant to the capacity or the availability of water services, either private or public, or sewage services, either public or private. So we have a standard now which controls the home sites. And as we consider these extraordinarily large home sites, it's much like those wildly liberal governments in Portland and in the San Francisco Bay Area with 5-acre home sites targeted at those Silicon Valley billionaires, of whom we have very few here in Iredell County. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Doug Holland?
Good evening. I'm Doug Holland. I live at 759 Olin Loop Road in Olin. I'm a dairy farmer by trade and also serve on the Iredell County Planning Board. I've spoken to all of you about this, but I just want to reiterate tonight. Much has been said about the 2045 Horizon Plan. It's a land use plan. There are some counties around our state that don't have a land use plan. No, I think we're lucky as a county that we do have a plan. Without a plan, there is no restrictions. I mean, so I think it is a valuable tool, but it is just that. It's a plan. As a member of the Plan Board, we're constantly making changes to it, updating it. And if you want to come as a citizen and find out about those changes, you're welcome to come to our Planning Board meetings. I hope you do. We seek input always. This particular amendment to our plan, folks, we voted it 7-2 to approve everything but this section, and it gave us the most heartburn. I think there's a lot more input needs to be put into this particular decision, and I urge you not to act rationally on it tonight, but to put this back in a form of a committee somewhere to look at it more. I think we can come up with a better plan than 5-acre minimum. Farmers, folks, we don't want to sell our land, but there are times that, you know, God forbid that you might have a medical emergency, you may have to put a spouse in long-assisted care, you may have to sell your farm. It happens, and it happens all too often. For farmers, we don't have a 401k, we don't have a retirement plan. More often than not, your land is your retirement. As Dr. Shelton said, it's an investment. You know, at our last meeting, Mike Howard, a farmer in North Iredell, very well respected, he made a comment. And I thought, well, man, it makes a lot of sense. He said, you know, I farm, my kids farm, but there's a good chance my grandkids are not going to be farming. And at that point, they might want to maximize what they can get out of that land. A 5-acre lot minimum would hamper that. You're not going to be able to get as much out of that land because developers, a major development is not coming there. They're not going to have to buy 5 acres to develop that. That's not going to happen. Yes, this will temporarily slow down big developments in that area. But there are ways around it. Developers have proven that time and time in other counties. There's a lot of statistics out there. The 5-acre minimum lot size is going to eat up a lot more farmland. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's going to slow down development. Yes, it will for a short period of time. But they're going to eat up a lot of farmland because there are a lot of people out there that can afford to pay for that 5 acres. And they're going to put that house right in the middle of it. And that 5 acres is then taken out of agriculture production. You're going to do that over and over again, and it's going to eat up a lot of land. Developers, they're still going to develop. They're just going to do it 5 houses at a time. They're going to go around it. There are many ways around this, and it's going to happen. So I urge you, let's take our time. Let's get this right, because there are a lot of other counties struggling with this same thing. We all want to preserve farmland. As a farmer, I want to preserve it. I want to keep farming. I want our way of life preserved for my kids, for future generations. We need that, yes. But I'm not sure this is the best way to do it. There are other tools in the bag that we can use. And I think if we don't start using those tools, we're going to be way behind it's going to be too late. The other counties around the state, they're starting to see that. It's too late for them. It's not too late for Iredell County. I urge you folks to look at those tools. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Phil McLean? You need a break.
Good evening, Phil McLean, live on Snow Creek Road, northern part of Iredell County. My brother Mike and I farm pretty much all over that map and outside of it some too, so we experience all of it. A lot of the things that I've been thinking about have been spoken about already tonight, and I'll reiterate some of those things. But one of the things that I've always thought about was the land that we own would be our retirement if we needed it. And like Doug said, we don't have 401ks, we have farmland. And, I'm going to make it to the end of my life farming. I'm not too worried about that. But my children, and many of them want to farm, and I think they'll make it the way that we're set up. But I think at some point, we'll want to be able to sell and get top dollar. And we can move somewhere else and buy more land for less than what we have here, and that would be a real benefit. I've always thought that sooner or later we wouldn't be able to farm in Iredell County. I don't know how soon that happens. I don't know if it happens in my lifetime. I'm 68, so I'm getting close to the end of the road. But I never thought that we could preserve all the farmland. And I guess what I'm thinking about is I figured I'd be the last one standing because we have the wherewithal to do it. But then what happens is everything's sold around you, and you have, by default, done your own farmland preservation, and then you don't get the value out of it at that point. And that concerns me a little bit too. And somebody mentioned earlier that if there was a way to make an incentive that money could be used, and I know farmland preservation's one way, but there's never enough money for that, it seems like. So, I'm glad I'm not a county commissioner. My hat's off to all of y'all. You got a hard job. Appreciate the fact that you've had the hearing tonight and listened to all of us. But at this moment, I don't think I could be for the proposal. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mike McLean?
Good evening. I'm Mike McLean. I'm from Snow Creek Road in northern Iredell County. I'm a farmer and landowner. I agree with a lot with what's been said tonight. I originally thought that maybe the 5-acre plan was a good thing, but that was just my own thinking. I didn't really know. I hadn't heard much about it, didn't know much about it. But just the idea of preserving farmland sounded like a good idea to me. and it still does. But I don't know that the 5-acre option is the way to go. From what I've heard, there's a lot of studying that maybe should continue. And maybe we should think about that and put this on hold for a while. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes all those who have signed up. So I'm going to close the,
I got, there is somebody.
I'm so sorry. I can take my whack back. Where are we at? Come on up and state your name, and thank you, Scotty, for spotting.
Another one.
We have additional?
John Woody.
So when you get up here, if you'll do your name. Come on, please.
I'm John Woody. Good to see all you fine folks up here. I live at 491 Stillwater in Troutman. I own land in Iredell County as well. And I'm additionally agreeing with most of the people that's already spoke here tonight. You put one house on 5 acres, you done destroyed the farm. And you take 100 acres, how many houses you gonna have? And then there's no farmland there. And then you've also lost the density. If you're trying to slow down things, number one, we shouldn't build I-77 through here and I-40. That's happened way before all of our time. So we've brought the people here. So now you don't want the people or the density of the houses. But the density that is a heavier density uses less land for homes. But, and then it isolates for your fire departments, for your schools and everything else. You need to be planning on schools adventure and fire department adventures and go to outside government, federal government, wherever you need to get funds to supply those places so we'll have enough to cover the people. You're asking people not to have children here or not to have anything because you're going to expense it out so far that they can't live in their own land. Again, these guys, these farmers, I farmed all my life, ever since I was about 10-year-old. I'm 69 now. I'm yet farming. I sold 51 head of cattle this morning. So the thing of it is, farming is a thing that we do. If we didn't want farming, or we really wanted to stay in this land, you need to be looking at the big people like Food Line and other big industries in the grocery business that's going to Mexico, growing their groceries now, and growing their farm and their cattle. Australia coming here, dumping on the United States. This is what put farmers out. It isn't the housing industry. The housing industry is something for people to live in and their families to grow and keep the density at a heavier density in the fact that the cost of living would be down, because how many people that sit right here at this board would want to go out and mow your yard with 5 acres or to maintain that kind of land? The majority of the young people today want their own private home. They don't want to live in an apartment, but they can't afford the large amount of land acreage. If you didn't want this, our government has already printed so many dollars in the last 4 years, $1 trillion of fake paper without the gold bullion to back it up. So our dollars are worth a lot less money, and where a dollar was really a true dollar, now we've already backed down to 75 cents or even 50 or 60 cents. And then you can see this in the house pricing of today. So if you embetter the housing market or the farm market to get it so big by putting 5 acres of property out there for one house, whether it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or it's a $500, $1 million house, not many people on the average can purchase this property. And so you're really pushing out to people in low-income housing, and it don't mean low-income. Farmers are not making that big of revenue in today's world. Believe you me, I bought $50,000 of fertilizer, and that's nothing to these guys out here that buy fertilizer every year. That was last year, and we limed our whole farm. But when you do all this, if you really look at the density, and the gentleman talking about farming, again, farming needs to be worked on the big level to back people off so we can farm and make money. Then you got a farm that can exist. But if we can't make enough revenue to outrun the cost overhead, buy farm tractors today, $100,000 to $500,000. It used to, they were $10,000 and $20,000. So our expenses internal is going so high and so great and so fast. Farming is something, it is going to be ventured out further away from this resident of the Iredell County or Statesville. I mean, we're awful close to Charlotte, there's no doubt. We're close to Mooresville, and it is going to be a growing factor. You as a bunch of board members that look over this county need to really activate and look at your positions of not not bringing this into a tier of putting one house on 5 acres to destroy the farms. Again, these guys may want to retire. They don't have the 401Ks, as they say. I don't have one either. But I run other businesses and I make money, but the cost of living is extremely adventured and gone high. So don't make a burden on the young children of the day that's coming on and are your children or your great-grandchildren on down the stream. So please reconsider this and put some more thought in it. Activate and let the whole community know about it. I knew about this about 30 minutes ago before your meeting started. So we mail out our tax bills. Please mail out these ventures so we can know about these meetings so everybody can come and know what's happening to their lands, because that's the only way we can get information. I'm not on Facebook. I mean, I've got a company, I got people I hire to do that, but I'm not on it personally. So I would like to have a letter in the mail that you're going to change my property values and deduct it and reduce the value of Iredell County. Thank you.
John.
I'm Tina Rodriguez. I live at 104 Watts Court, and I'm sorry I did not come prepared to speak tonight, but after hearing all this, I want to kind of speak to you guys. I'm on a different aspect because I'm in the city, and I'm right next to a neighborhood. I'm inside a neighborhood that they're getting ready to try to slap 1,200 homes up in, which they've gone down to 915. I have studied all this. I've studied the fire. I've studied the sewer. I've studied the schools, the buses. I have pushed for all these numbers and asked and stuff. I understand what y'all are trying to do. We've got farmland up in Alexander County. I know what they're saying, and I know that there's just got to be a reason. I know why y'all were doing this, because y'all were trying to stop growth. And I agree with that. I agree that the county commissioners in the city needs to talk, because the ordinances allow them to come in there and slam houses. One guy said, well, I want to have a place for my son to grow up. Well, you're not going to have it. These developers are coming in and they're swamping, and they are taking the land, and they are putting 1,200 houses on these land, in these neighborhoods. We don't need that kind of growth. And I don't think these people that have these farmlands that don't have these developers coming in right beside them yet realize that. I don't think they realize that our taxes are getting ready to go up, because none of these people are studying this and seeing that it's going to cost $6-7 million to build a fire department. It's going to cost $1.2 million to staff that fire department. It's going to, how much, I can't remember, it was $130 million for the high school. These developers are offering 15 acres to give to our school. We need a minimum of 25 acres for elementary. They're not paying to put that school up. They're not paying for those buses. They're not paying for those staffing. But what we're trying to do is just keep this county from growing so much. So I can't say that 5 acres is the answer. That's kind of scary. I know for them, for their children. I know for me, for my land. I want to be able to give it to my kids and do what we want to do on it too. But I also think that as a county and as a city, we all need to come together and figure it out and come up with a plan. If they're all fighting this and you know, however y'all decide how y'all do it, but we've got to come together and figure out the answers, because as a taxpayer, I mean, my house payment just went up $100 because of insurance. I am single and I am paying that bill. Now y'all think that y'all can go up on my taxes to house because they want to bring all these people in here, live here and drive to Charlotte. Well, how am I going to afford to live if y'all go up on my taxes? I'm going to be pushed out of my home in Iredell County because y'all go up to taxes to build for fire and to build for schools that I don't even have any children in. And Lord, I'm going to need that fire. If my house catches on fire, I want them to come. But I know that we don't have the fire coverage that we need. Our city doesn't have the fire coverage we need. But yet these people are worried about selling their homes later. We got to realize what we're doing now and what we're doing to this county. And I hope and pray that y'all get with the city and get with people and come up with a plan that works on both sides, because we're in real trouble. And y'all are going to push out elderly that can't live here, that can't afford to live if you go up on their taxes. I've talked to the county, I've talked to our senators, I've talked to our U.S. House reps about impact fees and about passing that. I have talked to them blue in the face. I've just talked to Vicki Sawyer in between session. We've got to do something. We got to come up with a plan. And I've talked to every single one of you. I've talked to every single one of the city council, talked to planning. But I don't know if this is the answer or not, but I appreciate what y'all are doing. Y'all have a hard job. I know it because I have been on the phone with each one of you for the last couple months. And I hope that we can come up with something and stop these from developers just from slamming stuff on top of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Okay, so I'm going to close it again, make it official on that one.
Can we have a 5-minute break?
Yeah, you want a quick 5 minute? All right. Hold tight. All right, we have the public hearing closed. We want to thank everyone that has attended and spoken. You know, the interesting thing here is I'm glad to see everyone in attendance. And to me, as we sit here, and I'll ask comments from the board and final discussions as we move through this public hearing section, But it weighs heavy on my heart that I need to say that one of the main reasons I have ever gotten involved in politics, to be present here this evening, to represent and hear voices, is a love of Iredell County. Born and raised here, the intent of working through 2045 plans, the intent to work together as a team, is to protect those of you that are sitting in here so you can continue to have the respect that farmers deserve, that landowners have in Iredell County, to be able to utilize the roads to get from field to field. It was never on our minds to ever limit your futures. Now, you've brought some great points, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart to hear those aspects. It was never a goal to restrict your futures. It's a love of this county, the love of the people of it. Or I wouldn't spend so much of my life dedicated to keeping it with the values, the ethics, the beauty of this county. When I sit there and watch the southern end, where I was born and raised, when they watered the cows in Lake Norman, I see change. I'm concerned of our vision. I want us to continue to work together. I want to see your faces more than just when you're upset with us. We need each other. We need each other. We have a special county with Iredell. I don't want to blend in with the other no-names. I want us to continue to be able to go through the roads and see the hard work, the years, the blood, sweat, and tears of what you've done, respected. We're not trying to ruin your life, take away your future. This board, as we sit, how many times have we said we want to keep Iredell County, Iredell County? We work together as a team. We are petrified of growth and the cost that comes with it. If you cross the street and you go into city council, you sit there and see people lined up against the wall saying, hey, what are you doing to our neighborhoods? What are you doing to our roads? We take this job very seriously. We lose sleep over this. We blow up our phones. We're on the phone constantly. I'm glad you're here. You're the heart and soul of this county. And we want our hearts to beat together. I'll ask the rest of the board if they have any comments.
Several of you in this room have expressed concerns to me when I was running for office, before I took office, and while I've been in office, to try to protect our landscape. Does everybody want it like Mooresville, Cornelius, Huntersville, Winston? That's what we're trying to prevent. And when the majority of the people who complain, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. I understand people have investments. They have investments in their property. They have investments in their homes. They have investments in everything. But there was a past commissioner that stood up here and he once said, there will be somebody to come to your home and offer you a check that you cannot turn down. And you'll sell it and you'll move. Go down and sit down on 150 in Mooresville. Go sit in the traffic. Go down there and sit. Look what's going on in Troutman. Look at all the people that's fussing about everything in Troutman, everything in Mooresville. Today, we approved $130 million for a high school. We really need to put $170 million there for that high school. We need to turn around and build 2 elementary schools as well. But we're trying to be frugal with the money that we have. We're trying to keep a tax rate at 50 cents. So we can get economic growth, so we can get companies that want to come here. When Mooresville, Troutman, or Statesville goes out here and puts 1,200, 1,600 homes beside everybody, everybody fusses, everybody cusses, everybody raises Cain. And they want us to do something about it. Just because we're looking at ideas and we're looking at things, we're looking at every angle that we most possibly can. And we catch it, we signed up for it, I understand, we signed up for it, but I mean, Melissa's right, we all talk. And we talk a lot because we care about this county and we care about the people in this county. We care about the schools, we care about fire departments. Today, we had to have a special meeting about fire departments. And we still don't know what's going to happen there because our volunteer fire departments are basically falling apart because nobody wants to volunteer. Nobody wants to even work to even get paid anymore. And I think everybody understands that runs a business or does anything. But if you're having a heart attack or a stroke or you're in a wreck, you call 911, you're going to want the most qualified person to answer that call. You're going to want the most qualified person, paramedic, to get there, rescue, fire, or somebody to cut you out of that vehicle. And we got to pay those people. Everybody says that us as county commissioners, that when they go out here and they build this 1,600 home annexation out in the county, that we have a windfall of money. No, we don't. Does the town and the city have a windfall of money? Yes, they will make money. They don't have to provide schools. They don't have to provide EMS, Department of Social Services, Health Department, Animal Control, jail, and all the other things that all come into play in this. They don't have to provide that. We've got to do something to preserve the footprint of this county, or we're just supposed to change the name to Mecklenburg County. And I'll be very honest about that. We will change the name. We will have to change the name to Mecklenburg County. That's basically what we're going to turn into. And we cannot wait until it's a problem and then say, hey, we got to flip the switch. We got to do something quick, because these fixes are not quick. This here's been dealt with for a long time. There's a numerous amount of people in this room here that knew this was going on. Mooresville's working on a change of things now, but guess what? Mooresville's talking about they don't want any more apartment complexes. They're going to slow down. But do your homework and see how many's already been approved. You can say all day long, we're going to stop it, we're not going to approve any more, but look what's already in the pipeline to be approved. That's already approved, that's going to be hammered in the ground, right at $22,000 in this county. And when they hit the 50-cent tax rate, when these things start hitting, the 50-cent tax rate goes away. Look at Cabarrus County. Look at these other counties that are sitting next to us with higher tax rates. We've got a sales tax of 6.75, which is less than anybody around us, I think, except for 2 counties it touches. So we try to be a very conservative county. We try to work for both Democrats and Republicans and everybody. But us 5 up here are determined not to allow this county to turn into North Meck County. And it's very, very important. It is so important. We will look at everything that everybody has talked about today. We lose sleep and everything that we have dealt with here lately. We're dealing with other things that's actually bigger and more traumatic than the things that we're dealing with tonight. There's a lot of things that keep us up at night. This is one of them, and there's a lot of other things that keep us up as well. But we've got to do something, folks. We've got to preserve somehow, because if not, everything in this whole county is going to be nothing but developments. And look at 150. I mean, how long have they been talking about widening 150? Think about it. How much longer until it's Highway 70, to its Highway 21, to its Highway 115? The next 10 years of this county is going to change, and it's not going to change for the good, I'm afraid. And I'm very serious when I say that. It's not going to be for the good. So, you know, Superintendent Dr. James done a presentation of the school system. I think he said around $450 million in school needs. That's not counting the high school. So we probably got close to $1 billion in school needs once you factor in Mooresville and the growth down there, once these kids starting to all these schools. So we're going to look at this as a board, and we're going to make determinations, and we'll come up with something. But we got to come up with something. And we got to ask for all y'all's help, everybody's help. But this 2045 plan, they were out in the community. The consultants, along with planning staff, went out Union Grove, at the Ag Center, in the south end of the county. I think there was 4 different locations they went to and had community meetings and everything. So this is vitally important, and I'm sorry I'm on my soapbox, but folks, we got to do something. We've got to do something, because if not, everything's going to change here. Everybody, wants everything for free and don't want to pay for nothing. And don't want anybody telling them what to do. So that's my rant for tonight. I'm sorry.
Any further thoughts?
Yeah, the 2045 is done, as Mr. Holland said, it's a need. And I can tell you, I was not for the 5 acre. And I asked farmers, I asked several people, and they said, no, the farmers are for it. And I said, why are y'all for this? Do you understand it? And I started educating people and telling them that, I really don't think you understand it. And so I put the word out that you need to, and as Ken Robertson said, we have a unique county, and we can change this county real quick, because we're one of the few counties in the state that we're half agriculture and half industry, or housing, if you want to put it that way. That's because that's pretty much what we are. I own a farm, and I own a couple farms, and I turned down $75,000 an acre this past week for my farm. And everybody just told me I was crazy. Why don't you sell it and walk away? Because I can't sit up here and say I want to conserve farming and sell to a housing development company and wants to put 800 houses. I can't do it. I'd have to resign tomorrow, and all y'all write things on Facebook about me. But I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. But honestly, nobody put this in there, and it's not in there to hurt any farmer. We're trying to figure this out, and I've been talking with Jeff McNeely. I've talked to several other farmers. We're trying to figure out what is the answer, because we don't have the answer. We want the answer, but we don't have it. So we've got to come up with something that works, because we do want to preserve farms. But there are a lot of farms that, my kids don't care anything about farming. They've got their own businesses. They're doing what they want to do. So there's going to be a point in time, mine's got to go for something else. But, I don't want, and I've been this way my whole life, I hate government. I hate for government to tell me I can't do that. I don't even like county government where they say, you can't park this trailer in your yard. I hate that. That ticks me off, because I own that land. But I'm not going to tell a farmer that he can't sell his 1 acre land. That's me. I'm 1 of 5 up here, but I'll never, ever tell you what you can do and what you can't do when it comes to stuff like that, because it's your land. Next.
Being a part of a living, breathing board is a very unique perspective. I think the law says that one board can't bind another board.
That's right.
But essentially, it's a game that's played, and once the football's kicked, the game begins, and you come in the middle. You were maybe not even read into the game plan. I know, as Mr. Holland said, we're fortunate to have a land use plan. I know for myself and one other member of this board, this 2045 Horizon Plan, the members were even picked before, and a lot of decisions were started, or the process was started before we were even elected, maybe even before we decided to run. But because you choose, you become a part of that continued plan that gets continued on. Dr. Shelton, one of the things that troubled me the most, and troubles me a lot, as I said at this desk, I don't know why we call it dais, it's a desk, is a common theme, and you hit on that, was notification, getting the word out. It's not an uncommon thing that we hear. People say, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of factors there. Our world has changed so much. We don't have WFMX anymore that almost everybody listened to. WSIC doesn't hardly reach the whole area, and some don't listen to just talk radio. We don't have, beyond our control, we don't have a Statesville paper that goes out every day. We do have the Iredell Free News.
Of course, some will say, I don't read that. Well, we have a Facebook. Someone said every time that there's a change, maybe we need to send a letter. I would hate to know just the mailing cost if we had to send a mailer out every time there was a proposed change, because I think it becomes that if once you buy the pig, you got to feed the pig. Once you do it for one thing, you have to do it for everybody. If you're doing it for this, why are you doing it for that? Do we even know what the mailing cost is just for the tax bills?
Millions.
And then you add into that the personnel to achieve that. So it's one of the most frustrating things is how to figure out to get the public involved, how to make sure they're informed. I don't know that answer, and I have said that at this desk many, many times. So it's one of those. I often tell folks, I guess I'm a farmer by definition, but I'm a hobby farmer. I'm a gentleman farmer. I got a few cows and make a little hay. I'm 40 acres, some small potatoes. But a lot of the folks that spoke here tonight are folks that I grew up with or known for a long, long time. No one at this desk said, let's come up with an idea for 5 acres. The intent was, how do we help protect farming, protect farmers, protect farmland the best? There's 5 of us trying to do the business for 200,000. There was something that happened earlier today that I got very angry because we're given options. And this was an option that was presented to us. We didn't come up with this. Someone else came up with it. We heard no opposition. Then all of a sudden, here's this. And this or more is what should be in a county commissioner meeting every other week. To be involved in your government. It is resounding to hear folks who have a great number of our acreage farmed and how they feel about this. I went to, Mr. Matthew, how many meetings did we have for the 2045 Horizon Plan? Total, a public comment period. We had 8 throughout the county. I know I attended 3, and the reason you can say, why did I attend 3? I wanted to hear what people were saying. And the number one thing that people were saying to me coming up, I wore a commissioner shirt so people knew who I was, and they'd say, protect farmland. People from Mooresville, protect farmland. So when this came forward, no opposition. For us, it makes the most sense. The same thing, we were told this is what makes good sense. None of us here are experts in anything. The thing that I learned being a senior non-commissioned officer in the United States Army is you surround yourself with smarter people to give you the information. I have a hard time believing that it wasn't known by some, and it's kind of that, I used to joke with veterans, and they'd say, I didn't know about your office, and there was, for the first 5 or 6 years, I felt like a Baptist preacher's preaching on every stump that anybody would hear me talk about veteran services, and then I'd meet somebody, well, I've never heard of you before. You remember the old Geico commercial, where you been for the last, 20 years living under a rock? But I know that communication gap exists. When you know these things are going on, talk to us, let us know. I don't think there's a single person sitting at this desk that wanted to look, how do we hurt somebody? It's how do we help? We only have our vision. We don't have tunnel vision. But we also can't always see, as it was clearly stated tonight, the unintentional consequences as well. there's pros and cons to this, no matter what you do. As I spoke to some people during the process, knowing this was coming, their vision was one thing and they shared. Some of them have changed their stance. Some have remained the same. I can promise you, from my perspective, this is not something that we've taken lightly. This is not something we're going to take lightly. And I think we do need to spend additional time figuring out what's the right way to move forward. I think the one thing in this room that everybody would agree is we all don't want to look like northern Mecklenburg County. And it's figuring out how to achieve that with the most minimal impact to your property rights. So whatever gets set up and what we decide to do here in a little bit, I'd encourage each of you and your families and other farmers who don't have Facebook, who don't have any other way, is to get involved in these groups and organizations. Our own planning board, they voted this, all but this, but they made no other recommendation to us. So, you know, we need insight and help as well. Thank you.
I'll just say, you know, I'm the longest serving board member here, unfortunately. But our goals is always to make your lives better, unfortunately for some, I guess. Our goal is always is to make your lives better, not worse. And one day when we're not sitting here, I want to be able to say I made good decisions. My favorite saying is, before you judge our actions, ask us our options. I think that's a fair question always. Our goal, as everybody says, was to protect and preserve farmland. Nancy Key's sitting back there. The percentage she gave us a couple weeks ago at her annual report is concerning to me as a county commissioner and an American, because as Mr. Woody said, the things that's hurting our farmers and stuff, for the most part, elections matter. We're allowing foreign entities to come and buy farmland. They're going to grow food and then they're going to ship that food overseas to their countries. We shouldn't allow foreign entities to own land in America, in my opinion. You can't go own it there. Our goal is to try to give you present use values and give you breaks as we can to make your farming profitable. As a lot of you have mentioned today, your kids and grandkids may not do what you do. So I can promise you our goal was to protect you and preserve farmland, because we need farmland, we need food for our own preservation as a society. But we never want to make the remedy worse than the problem. And that's what I think we've got to look at in this situation. The 2045 Horizon Plan is a plan. As Doug said, it's a document that's not binding. It gives you a blueprint to look at to help guide you into the future. The reason we started the 2045 now was we're not that far away from the 2030 ending. But the population in Iredell County is going to be 300,000 people by 2045, or 287,000 people by 2045. I'm the District 12 Director for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. I have 8 counties, and Mecklenburg is one of my counties. We don't want to be Mecklenburg, and I know everybody in this room would agree with me. But as county commissioners, we have 26 county departments, 19 fires, 3 rescues, and 3 educational entities that we're elected to help fund and control for you. And there's a lot of people that don't understand life is a cycle. Your parents take care of you, and then you take care of your parents. There's a lot of people helping pay the bills for kids and grandkids or kids in the school system today, and they may not have any. But it's a cycle of life. We have to have a trained workforce to meet our economic development. To have balanced growth in the county, we want our business and industry to outpace our residential growth. We need impact fees in North Carolina. As a county commissioner, I don't control the market values when we do a reval. When your properties come back and they're valued at whatever because your neighbors in your comp, over 700 neighborhoods have comps in each individual neighborhood throughout the county, we don't control the market values. We lowered the tax rate to help give you some relief because of the economy. But we could have very easily left the rate where it was because of all the responsibilities and obligations we have to pay for services and needs that you need, from schools to emergency services to landfill to fire, police, sheriff, all those things. A lot of people don't realize what's on our plate. And believe me, I can assure you, we don't take any of these responsibilities lightly. It's not a fun place to be. Every election cycle, you're in a vice because everybody wants more money, and then everybody wants you not to raise taxes. We can't print money, and I got to have money to pay the bills. The cost of your living goes up every day. I don't know that you're getting raises at your jobs, your insurance, all your cost of living is going up. I'm singing to the choir. But the cost of running a business, this is a business, $300+ million business we're running on your behalf. There's not always easy solutions, but I believe we've got to go back to the drawing board with this and look at it a little harder. And we've had conversations to whether that's the Farmland Preservation Board or what. We need to look at that and give us a recommendation. But I just don't want anybody leaving here tonight thinking that the 2045 or this proposal was ever intended to hurt or harm anyone's value. We've got to have help. I know the business industry, we need to put on the ballot, in my opinion, our legislators either got to put it on the ballot or they got to give us impact fees to help us pay for infrastructure and schools and all those things. We as a county commission and the school boards in this county do not control what is annexed, do not control your high density growth, but we are mandated by law to build schools. And our planning board that works as an advisory board to us, members are here tonight. Their goal is always to make your life better. They give us advice on what they hear in the public hearing. Sometimes we change that because we have information by the time it gets here they maybe didn't have at the time they made their recommendation. But there's a lot of important things we do. We appreciate you. This country's in trouble. If we don't make good decisions, our kids are screwed in this country. People are scared to put a flag in this country, in this meeting. They're scared to pray. The values that made us what we are, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, you live in America, you better be American. And you better push American ideals first. That's not a partisan issue. These decisions aren't easy, and I promise you we'll do the best we can. I'm not ready, I can't speak for anyone else to make a decision on this tonight. We need more feedback, but I don't want anybody leaving here thinking that our goal is ever to harm you. Our goal is to fix problems, and it ain't easy. And thank you all for coming. We wish this room was full every meeting. We need to hear from you. And I know a lot of you is busy. You work long hours to every farmer that's been here and anybody else. I hate social media too. No matter what you do, you're pissing somebody off and you're getting criticized because you put a picture of your dog or your kids and you say you love the Lord. So, I'll get off my soapbox. But I think we ought to table this and not make a decision on any of it and decide if we're going to send it to the Farmland Preservation Board for a review and some recommendations. And we got to get it right.
Agreed.
Without hurting anybody. And I don't know if we can even do that. To Bert's point, we got to try to help preserve farmland. We got to try to help farmers with tax breaks and incentivize, as Chris said, the farmers, or if they're not making any damn profit, they're not going to keep farming. And that's a country thing. That's not an Iredell County or North Carolina thing. We all better wake up and figure out, stop selling the land to foreign entities and put America first, secure the border. I'll get away from that. But I'm telling you guys, being an American should not be partisan. All these issues go across every county line in all 100 counties in North Carolina. All 50 states have similar problems. And we're expected to solve them without raising taxes, without coming up with revenue streams. I'm not going to blame our state legislators or federal legislators, but when they send unfunded mandates down here, we got to deal with them. Mm-hmm. So we need their help. I'm not trying to beat up on the developers and builders, but we got to have some impact fees to help from infrastructure, schools, emergency service, all the things we gotta supply. Our revenue streams is taxes and sales taxes and permitting. And that's what we pull our money from to pay you bills. So thank you all for coming, and for me, I think we ought to look at some other options and table this and not make a decision. There's too many people that need more information on this, and we don't want to hurt nobody.
I believe that's what the consensus of the board is as well. Do we need that in a form of a motion?
Manager, we may be about to say the same thing, but I would ask that perhaps you direct staff to go back and carve out the sections that you're concerned about. There are other aspects in this text amendment that you do need to consider, and I'm not asking you to do that tonight, but perhaps if you direct staff to go back and bring you the revised, taking the farmland, the major subdivision or development part out, and bring you the rest of it, and then direct.
We need to look at that, and we need to also look at the 200 setback, as they said, it only applies to large developments. I'd like more look into that and advisement back at our staff at our next meeting, or in September, maybe, whatever.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Of the comments this evening, the majority of the comments were about the 5-acre lot size. There was one comment about the 200 setback, but the other items, I don't recall there being any other comments. And I just wanted to remind the board that there are other items that are in this, that were part of this public hearing that we did not receive any comments on. And some of those do need to move forward.
Carve that out, bring it back in September for those items, right? That's what you're needing.
That's the will of the board.
Do y'all have
I would just ask not to put all of them on hold indefinitely, because there are some that probably need to move forward that we didn't have any negative comments about.
Issues that are not, can we pass those tonight? I mean, or do
Let's
you
carve
need
them
by
out.
a
Let's
certain?
carve them
Prefer
out.
that you have a clean written
No
document
ordinance, yeah.
for you that
Plain text
says.
amendment, yeah.
Okay.
So we can have that on our September.
Are y'all okay?
Meeting in
Are y'all
September.
okay on the 5-acre deal and the 200 setback, or any other things that were mentioned, that Beth mentioned is problematic? Is the Farmland Preservation Board, I mean, they're, by definition, their job is to look at these issues and advise the Board of Commissioners on projects, programs, issues affecting the agriculture economy or activities within the county and that affect the agriculture districts. So I think that they were not included in the 2045, and I'd like to just hear from them as a recommendation to us as what that looks like, and any other recommendations people have.
Absolutely.
I just think it's worth a look.
So what I'm hearing from the board is that we will table all of the items this evening. We will carve out all the items with the exception of the setback issue and the 5-acre. We will bring that back to you in September. And when we bring that back in September, staff will bring a plan of how to move forward, trying to resolve the other two issues. So we will do that and bring that back to you in September. Is that amenable to everybody?
Yes.
That's fine.
Can we get a motion on that?
I think you just need at least a motion to table based on what.
Motion to table the items necessary, as mentioned, the 200-foot setback and the 5-acre situation, and come back in September with a new text adjustments per her comment.
Okay. All commissioners understand? Yes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're unanimous. Thank you. Oh, you got your details on that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, let's move on down into our administrative matters, please, if you will sum those up.
Absolutely. The first item is a request from the Master Gardener Volunteers to apply for grants to secure funds to construct an educational greenhouse. A request from Finance to approve Budget Amendment Number 7 in the amount of $23,000 to increase the local appropriation to the Council on Aging using contingency funds. A request from the Town of Mooresville for approval of a resolution to transfer impervious built-upon acreage for 2070 allotment in the Cottle Creek Public Water Supply watershed. The only addition to that is to add a 12-month time frame for that to be done. If not, it reverts back to the county. A request from the Health Department to add the flu vaccine to the fiscal year 24-25 fee schedule. A request from the Health Department to update the fee schedule, the depot fee charge, and that's going from $20 to $19.50. A request from the Health Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 5 for ARPA Temporary Savings Fund Public Health Services Grant, and that was in the amount of $50,000. A request from the Health Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 6 for Agreement Addendum 716 CDC COVID-19 Vaccination Program Grant Funds in the amount of $7,948. A request from administration to discuss the cost breakdown for Weathers Creek High School. After discussions, it was agreed by consensus by the board for a total project cost of $130 million, and that is to include all contingency, FF&E. There would be no phasing, and that would also include the $6.5 million that the county fronted for the architectural fees. So that is a turnkey total project cost of $130 million. A request from Tax Administration for approval of the July 2024 releases and refunds. A request from Administration to approve the updated CRTPO Memorandum of Understanding. And finally, a request from Administration to approve the county legislative goals proposal to submit to the NCACC. We did have a few revisions. One, the goal regarding the development or impact fees, to add to that, to place that if the legislature does not choose to do that, to put that on a ballot and let the voters decide about charging the impact fees. The other is the discussion regarding restoring the lottery funding for education that was originally approved at 35%. For that 35% to go to the schools and not cover or have the administrative fees taken out of the school's 35%, that needs to come out of the other percentage. It should not come out of the 35% that goes to the schools. And for at least 25% of the capital funds to come to Tier 3 counties, because that's where the majority of the funds are generated. And then finally, there was one addition to the legislative goals, and that is for Senate Bill 607 and 640, which covers the posting requirement for delinquent taxes, which requires the tax office to go and physically post at each parcel if it's delinquent in taxes, for that to be removed and no longer be law.
All right. Thank you for summarizing those. Manager will summarize those administrative matters. We speak with staff at great length during our 4 o'clock hour, which is also televised and also held here and open for the public. So thank you for that summarization. I would ask for a motion to approve our consent agenda, please.
Motion to approve.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're unanimous on that. So if we continue down our agenda, we do not have any announcements for vacancies on boards or commissions. No appointments. Is there any unfinished business for this evening? It is a public comment period, which is the second meeting of the month. And with that, I will read that the board conducts a public comment period at its second regular meeting of the month. The purpose of the public comment period is to allow citizens to speak on matters related to county government. Each speaker that has signed up is allotted 3 minutes and will be called to the podium by the chair in the order names appear on the sign-in sheet. Please state your name and address before beginning your comments. Comments are to be directed to the board as a whole. Responses by the board are at their discretion, but the public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period, but rather a time for the board to hear from the public and take such matters raised under advisement. Citizens will be expected to be civil in their language and presentation and not engage in slander or name-calling. Citizens should not discuss any matters which are closed session matters, including but not limited to matters regarding personnel or matters which are made confidential by law. Speakers who have prepared remarks, written remarks, or supporting documents are encouraged to leave a copy of such remarks and documents with the clerk to the board. And at this time, I'm going to open the public comment period for this evening. And we have signed up. The first speaker is Sandy Tabor Gray. If you'll please state your name.
Yes, I'm Sandy Tabor Gray. I live at 141 Fernbrook in Mooresville. And I'm here with Amy LeCount. She's on there also. She's going to go first, actually, and speak.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us. Thank you, Commissioner Brown, for inviting us tonight. My name's Amy LeCount. I'm the Executive Director at the Mooresville Area Christian Mission. I also am an Iredell County resident. I live at 157 Montebello Drive in Mooresville. We are a nonprofit agency serving the Mooresville area as well as the entire county with a few of our programs. Our goal is to break the cycle of poverty by providing crisis assistance, case management, and educational programming. We do that through rent, utility assistance, a food pantry. We give out free clothing to our clients so that they can get ahead with their bills and be able to stretch their budget a little bit further. We serve everyone from birth to seniors. We serve everyone from homeless to hardworking, blue-collar Americans that are just having a hard time making ends meet. So I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Sandy Tabor-Gray. And actually, just to let you all know, we've been around for 85 years. And we've served the county for a long, long time. Great program. I've been the executive director for 4 years, and just in the past 4 years, we've actually doubled in size. So we're just under a $2 million agency serving over 4,000 individuals in the county. So this is Ms. Sandy Tabor-Gray. She is our certified peer support specialist. One of our countywide programs is our substance use support program, and she does excellent work in that area, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you, Board, for having me here. So the peer support program, we've designed our peer-led program to align with the needs of community and the North Carolina Opioid and Substance Use Action Plan to provide prevention education programming, reduction in harm, and connecting people to the care that they need. We see the value and necessity of peer support. We meet people where they are. I'm someone in long-term recovery with over 40 years of recovery from polysubstance abuse. In addition, in 2013, I lost my son Michael to an opioid overdose. I know the devastation of opioid use disorder as an individual, as a family, and certainly in our community. My lived experience makes me uniquely qualified to identify and help those in need. Our program is unique and it's all comprehensive. We offer prevention education programming to the community, to our schools, including educators, administrators, students, and parents. We work to reduce harm by offering community Narcan trainings and free Narcan, and partnering with many different treatment modalities. So we refer to medically assisted treatment, residential inpatient treatment, intensive outpatient programming, and all serving opioid use disorder and polysubstance use. We recognize that there is not one silver bullet that will address the opioid use and polysubstance abuse. So we know that we've got to come at it from all sides. We address social determinants of health and eliminate stigma in several ways. One, by increasing access to treatment, access for all people, justice involved, homeless individuals, regardless of their socioeconomic status. Expanding access to transportation services. We educate people on ICATs and how to use that. We offer tokens for them to get to and from where they need to be, as well as we offer transportation services, Uber, Lyft, allowing people to be able to get to their health care and recovery needs related to the success of someone moving along that path of recovery. As a peer support, we provide linkage to care to agencies that offer services that we do not. We couldn't do all that we do without our partnering agencies. So please, we put a folder on your desk, and in there is a one-pager, and it lists some of our partnering agencies. This isn't all of them, but there's a good list there. But these same agencies, they look to us for assistance, financial assistance, and funding whenever possible for their clients. And a lot of our funding is centered around Mooresville. Comes from the ABC grant in Mooresville. We can't service all of Iredell County, even though our services are for all of Iredell County. We really need some assistance with money there. And so we're requesting $250,000 of the opioid settlement money to expand our programming so that we can best serve all of Iredell County. Do you have any questions?
Just thank you for all you do.
Yeah, thank you for taking care of folks in our community.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
What specifically, if I may ask, that can we do to help you either advocate for things, or what would that look like?
Well, the greatest to advocate is to first recognize the problem and to be able to bring awareness of what the problem is out there, and be able to meet people where they're at and not try to tell them what they need. We're there to meet them and help them come up with what the best plan is they feel. I may have my own idea of what I think they need, but it may not be where they're ready to start. We offered, if you look at your one-pager, $119,000 from January to today in scholarships for treatment, for sober living, and that includes residential, that includes medically assisted treatment. We're the only program in our county that is offering assistance like that.
Where do you get your referrals from? Is it coming from DSS, health department, private sector?
All of the above. It comes from EMS, it comes from the health department, it comes from the medically assistant treatment providers, it comes from Piedmont Healthcare, Novant, it comes from our schools. Just today, I had two parents call me. They must be heavy on the vaping thing, because 2 kids have been kicked out and they're looking for resources for their kids to get them back in school. So it comes from all over. And we make ourselves accessible to everything and everyone. We just don't have that funding to be able to say yes to all the needs that are out there.
Is there any other, have you identified or talked to our legislators, or any other kind of grant funding and things that you guys can apply for that you haven't, or you just haven't gotten it? If possible, can you identify some of those to Beth, our manager, things that we can help you find and identify funding sources to treat more people and to get that word out there, because there's a need. I'm on our health board for this board, and, the vaping, the drugs, the opioid situation nationally is we're going to deal with it directly or indirectly. Our jail's over 400 average population. Right now, that's our largest long-term treatment facility and mental health facility, and it doesn't need to be.
Yes.
And that's what we all have to look at, because we're going to pay for it directly or indirectly for the problem instead of trying to find a remedy to curb it. So if you're not ready tonight, I get it. But if you will get, Beth, any more information also, because we've got to find some long-term options and short-term remedies like what you're
Well,
doing.
and yes, I agree, and that's why I'm standing here.
Right.
We have received billions of dollars in our state for the opioid settlement funds over the next 15 years. Every county, every 100 of our counties received a portion of that, and I know that Iredell County is in the millions.
So Commissioner Brown invited you here for a reason. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, yes. So we're looking for $250,000 of that opioid settlement money to help us continue our
Mission.
And to be able to reach all of Iredell County, not just, the southern part, right? We have a very small pot that allows us to reach out past Mooresville, but it's not very big. It's not enough, not near enough.
Right.
So
Would you be expanding your physical presence to the more northern, not just the services where they'd have to come to Mooresville? Would there be
Absolutely. And they don't have to come to Mooresville. That's, the wonderful thing
go to
about
them.
our program, because our county doesn't have every, resource that it needs to, address opioid use disorder, substance use disorder. We have to refer out a lot, but, this money is just for Iredell County residents, but we are going to have to, outsource that.
There's a huge need, not just in society, but I'm saying our schools, with the drug issues, the vape, a lot of issues that they need every bit of help they can get.
And we've been in some of the schools and we've been able to educate senior highs. I even had a senior who was doing their senior program, and she wanted to develop a curriculum for fentanyl and part of the PE and the health curriculum. And so I worked closely with her and then went and was part of her presentation. And so we're out there, but we need to have a greater presence.
Well, that's, I don't remember which one I talked to on the phone, but, okay.
It was Kristen.
And I think I told you that, we've run in some things. I've talked to Lisa about it, but our money has to stay in Iredell County. So that's when you told me, and I said, hey, now we're cooking. But, and the money's for what you're doing. But that's, we have to go through and figure out.
The process.
The process. So, and I was just asking Lisa, so we're, when we get together again, we'll talk and figure out what's what. But I do appreciate what y'all do, I'm telling you. Because we got the money. We want to help people because that's the reason the government got the money.
I will just say, the funding has a lot of strings attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
There are very rigorous reporting guidelines that are required. Can't use it for things like vaping because that's not part of the opioid settlement funds and what they can be used for. And it's very prescribed what you can and cannot use those funds for and the requirements if those funds are received. So it is something that we'll have to go through and look at and make sure that you guys meet the requirements for that. It does sound like some of the services that you're providing that the county is already providing through the EMS program with the MAT team and the peer support specialist program. So we've got to make sure that we're not being redundant with that. So we just need to make sure that we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's. It's not as simple as stroking a check, unfortunately, because we have
I understand.
We have a lot of requirements we have to comply with.
But I will tell you, I work very closely with EMS.
I'm aware, yes,
I
ma'am.
helped start that community response support team. But I work very, very closely with them, and they call me asking for assistance. So it's not just, us that are starting something new. We've got partners, Fifth Street Ministries, Daymark. I mean, we all work together, but we are like one of the only ones that are offering full scholarships to treatment.
Which is something we can't use those opioid funds for. So we just need to make sure, we'll have to look and see what we can and can't do.
Okay.
with
The only
those
thing
funds.
I wanted to add and why I'm here tonight is, like I said, we've grown, we're a larger agency. We are receiving state and federal dollars now, so we're accustomed to those strings that are attached. So, we're here tonight to begin the conversation. We would love to have a deeper conversation with you to explore those things. We also don't want to duplicate services, and so we understand that as well. And I just want to reiterate how unique this particular program is, because we're not just looking at treatment or prevention. It is the whole gamut all the way through. And through Sandy's work, she meets individuals where they're comfortable. So some individuals come into the Christian Mission, other individuals she meets at a coffee shop or wherever they're comfortable so that they have that ability to stay anonymous. So again, just starting the conversation, would love to talk with you all more, learn exactly, what those strings are. But we are a reputable agency that is capable of following state and federal grants, guidelines that come through. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continuing on down through public comment period, the next name is Jack Binion.
My name is Jack Binion. I live at 263 Beaten Path Road in Mooresville. And I see that once again, you have discussed the proposed high school and its increased in your building costs. Is there a way that you could please share with us taxpayers who to contact to help you get your impact funds or fees approved so that us as taxpayers are not constantly paying for the builder's needs for infrastructures that they're not giving you right now, not just roads, but schools, especially when you have 10 of your schools already at beyond the limit and quite a few are ready to go past that limit also. Is there also a way to get the towns and cities to help fund those schools? Since I have an example, 2 areas in Mooresville, Langtree and Brawley School Roads. Right now, there are 963 units that are already permitted, and another, that was 963 at Langtree, another 1315 on the Brawley School Road area, and that does not include 2 more large proposals that will be coming up to them on the table very soon, and I think that's going to be like another 250 units on top of what's already there. I believe the Mooresville Graded School District should help you pay for those schools since they're the ones that are annexing and bringing those new units in. I'm sure that I'm not the only taxpayer that would be willing to contact the legislatures or anybody else that you can tell us we should knock on their doors to get that money for you. I'll backtrack and go to a different route. The short-term vacation rental, again, people like myself and people on our committee will volunteer to be called as witnesses to any time you have to step in front of a judge or a court to explain what we've seen brought to you and why you are now in the position of what you have done for us with the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Terry Gentle, Walton Drive, Statesville. First, I'd like to thank all you guys and ladies for your commitment to the county because we really need that right now. Before this county goes down the toilet. Ms. Nieder, I can resonate with what you're saying because when I was diagnosed with heart failure quite a few years ago, and so when I reached 60, I retired early, and my plan had absolutely nothing to do with politics at all. I had 3 other goals of mine, which I've accomplished none of them because of this. And as most of you know, at this time, I'm now on the executive committee for the GOP. I'm area captain for all of Statesville, and hopefully for a short period of time, I'm president of one of the men's clubs. I'm really wanting a predecessor to come along. Scotty, Gene, y'all know me pretty well. Brad. I'm kind of stubborn, hard-headed, say what I think. I've been told I didn't have a filter for my level of honesty, so I guess I'm kind of blunt. The one thing I really want to talk about is I heard one of you guys say, I don't remember which one it was, I think it was this young lady here, I will never get her last name, that the biggest comments were about the 5 acres. The reason the most comments were about the 5 acres is because the developers went out and contacted all the big farmers and got them to come here. They didn't go out and contact the Tina Rodriguez's or the Tom Snyders of the Terry Gentles or the Michael Moorfields. They didn't come get us people here. They went and got the big money. So we've all heard from the big money now, but we didn't really hear from none of the middle class or lower income people and how all of this development is affecting us. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, I really agreed with Mr. Holland when he said we need more input. The problem is I hear all this about how Horizon was put out for everybody to hear about, but I don't get the newspaper because it really nothing in it. And the Iredell Free News, I don't look at it because sometimes it seems kind of biased. So I never knew anything about Horizon until a few years ago when I started going to some of the school board meetings. And I heard somebody there talking about it, and I'm like, what is this? So I didn't know nothing about it, so I didn't go to any of these meetings. Since then, I've stood up here on the corners and stuff and talked to people and asked them, because with all this politics crap I'm involved in, I'm starting to find out nobody has ever heard of Horizon or knows what it is. So we need to find a better way of getting this out to people. And if you were listening to Mr. McLean when he
Down
spoke.
to 20 seconds, too.
Yeah, when you was listening to Mr. McLean, he spoke and said that, they want the right to sell their land someday, and he made the statement. He wants to sell his land and move off. The problem. We've got the landowners getting rich and we got the developers getting rich, and we're left to pay the bill. And I'm not going to have time to go into this, but just the Holland Farm project alone, if it passes and goes through, you're going to need one elementary school and one middle school just for that project, because your developers are telling people there's only 0.3 children per household, and the bottom line is the number of children is 1.94 children per household. So they're not giving you factual information. And if you do that, I go by 2 because I'm not a mathematician here, so let's say 2 children per household, you're looking at 1,800 children, divide that by 3 because you got middle school, high school, and elementary school. That's 600 elementary schools that will fill up Sharon, take it to capacity. I got the numbers, but I ain't gonna go into them. It'll fill up Sharon, it'll fill up Scotts, and you'll need another elementary school for that. 600 more students will wipe out West Middle. You'll need another one for that, and it'll take West Iredell right to the max.
Go visit city council too, Terry.
So, the problem is that's just not the only burden with the taxpayers. This is being dumped on us taxpayers, and with these schools comes teachers, support staff, and with them, all teachers want benefits and salaries. Then you're going to need more EMS because you got a lot more people. We're not bringing jobs into the county, so where's all these people going to work? You put more on the highways. There's a massive. This is just. It just spreads out. So the tentacles go everywhere. We've got to stop this ridiculous, uncontrolled development. Thank you for your time.
Working on it. Thank you. Michael Moorfield?
Hey, I'm Michael Moorfield, 401 Fifth Creek Road, here out in Cool Spring area. Hey, I came here, I want to offer you all some encouragement, all you guys and ladies on this board, because I could see the stress in y'all tonight, and I really want to be praying for you, because this is an important thing. It's a really important thing. It's a make or break. We're not just in having problems with growth. This is a crisis. We're going to change it. No, we're pretty much a conservative county. We're going to turn it into a blue county or purple county. That's beyond the point, but we're not. We're a small town, small community. But I got news for you. We're now Huntersville. Huntersville had 63,000 people in 2022. So I heard tonight that we have 22,000 units that are booked, and there's thousands more on coming, like Holland Farms. I live out near Cool Springs, so we have River Hill Road just popped in 450. We had Warren Road, Warren Farms, and all these places are called farms, but they're not. There's no farm and no farm animals, no woods there. We got Bell Farms out here, and we got Sullivan Farms near Walmart. I mean, they get Elmwood Road. There's 200, out towards us. There's a lot of stuff we got to work on, and I know you guys are. It's a gut-wrenching thing, and the 5 acres in the northern end of the county, you're trying to address that. That's too much. That's too many acres to do it. But like Terry said, it was the 2 big developers that are working on the Holland Farm project were involved in that conversation with the farmers. I'm interested in this light green and that yellow right there on 64 personally, because that area is rural too. I mean, why is it just the top green section is rural? They're going to take the city of Statesville all the way to the county line, and that's what I'm seeing. That's really crazy. So I have been going to the city council meeting, Terry has too, and he's asking. I would ask this board to go to the city council meeting. I would ask them to appoint to the planning board of the Statesville City Council, the planning board, I think there's a person that you guys can appoint, or maybe two. We need to get on that board, because I feel like you represent my rights as a landowner, a small landowner. I think that you guys need to take the middle class and our rights into it too. Don't just look at these big farmers, and God bless them, we need the food. So I had a lot of other things to say, but that's pretty much it. You guys hit on a lot of points. I know you're thinking about it, and I appreciate it. I'll be praying for you.
Thank you.
All right, I've got a name on here. Is it, I need backup. Did you sign, it's a area code 704-437 is the beginning of the phone number. I'm so sorry, what is your name? Dale. Dale, would you please come on up here? Dale Bess, okay, thank you.
I signed the wrong paper, I should have talked to you.
Well, you can come on, now it's fine. I would have ruined your pronunciation of your name then too, so I'm sorry.
That's all right. I appreciate y'all tabling that proposal, because I do think it needs more study. I'm not in favor of 5 acres, I'm not in favor of 1/4 acre. Have you folks been to any of the middle schools or high schools with the cars run plumb out in the road picking up kids? They're overcrowded. You ever tried to move a combine up and down a road with cars behind you and blowing horns and trying to run you off the road? I mean, we have a right to be on that road, but they don't think so. So, I'm the 4th generation on the same piece of land. So the land's not for sale. And a lot of these people talk about selling their land. Well, another farmer will buy it if he can. So it's not necessarily going, but the developers are in it for their own profit. I'm sorry, that's what they're doing. And that's the reason they push it. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for hanging around.
Thank you.
Doug Holland?
He's already spoken.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You want to speak again, Doug?
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that I was gonna say, that was you on there again, wasn't it?
This one is an Army enlistment. Sorry, dude.
And Phil McLean.
You signed it. Sorry,
And McLean's
they'll pick you up in the morning.
I think Renee signed you up for this.
Yeah, I think so too.
And Phil's already gone, so I believe that completes our public comment period. I'm gonna close that and turn back to our agenda. Do we have any commissioner updates? Where have you been and what have you been doing?
We won't go there.
Okay.
The one thing I do want to go back and kind of add and talk about with this growth, I think it was Mr. Robertson that hit that there's 22,000 houses, apartments coming in the pipeline. I think the last time I asked Mr. Todd this question of that 22,000, how many of them were Iredell County controlled? And the number was less than 1,000. Would that be still fairly accurate, Mr. Todd? Matthew? Okay, so I'll round down to 22,000 and round up to 1,000. So 22,000 new construction homes, apartments, townhomes, and only 1,000 were decided by Iredell County. The rest were decided by municipalities. God, I would love, it was said by somebody, can we get the cities to participate? Well, we'd love it. They have no interest because as we've been clearly told, they have no interest in it. For those that were born and raised here, it was the Iredell County schools, the Statesville City schools, and the Mooresville graded schools. Well, sometime in the 80s, 90s, the city really struggled financially and basically paid for the merger. Said, here, take it away, please. Mooresville graded schools, what most people don't realize is you talked about Mooresville graded, they don't grow. When the city of Mooresville grows, the Mooresville Graded School District is a, what's the word? It's a defined boundary.
It's a fixed area.
It is a fixed area. It does not grow with the city of Mooresville. So they have no obligation to provide. And so they have those extra funds. Commissioner Conley has clearly put it out to folks many times that you got to build a house that's worth $455,000 to pay for one child to go to school. As it was said earlier tonight, $455,000 is not affordable housing. At least it's not affordable in my house. So, you know, I see a lot of places people that will knock us, this board, for all the, why don't we do something? And then we try to do something, and it's not right. We try to do something with fire departments and what we're recommended to do, and it's not right. I will tell you, people used to ask me many times how I had the stomach sometimes to fight the VA. Fighting the VA was a whole lot easier than this job. And I will tell you, that's a federal bureaucracy. This is very difficult when you're sitting and trying to be a voice, one of 5 voices for basically 200,000 people. And you think you're making a good decision that makes sense in your own mind, and you try to collect data. You have people that basically supported the 5 acres to suddenly tell you, I don't support that anymore. I actually was one of those that, you know, brought it as a recommendation and not support it anymore. You know, the problem is commissioners, once we make a decision, it's like, well, we have to own it. We don't get to just change our mind with the winds, and we have to look at the long-term effects of everything that happens. And I will tell you, Commissioner Nieder said it. You know, the law says that, you know, that 3 of us can't talk or be in one place. So it's, you know, you got to have this conversation, then you got to have another conversation. Makes it very cumbersome. But you lose sleep over this. You do. You see and you hear the troubles and the issues that people are having, and you want to make an impact. When you're a person that signs up for this, for me, there was nothing but trying to do the next right thing. How do we help the Christian mission? And then great, we want to help, but then there's so many regulations in place of how we can or can't use the money. But you know, this board really tries to weigh it out. We get advice, and I will tell you, this is probably one of the largest crowds here tonight we've ever had, and I wish we had it every night. There are people who will pick up the phone and call. I wish more people would pick up the phone and call. Not necessarily tell me what I need to do, but man, I know you got this on you. Let me just give you a piece of advice. Let me tell you what, from my perspective. But most people, what they want to do is call and tell you what they should do from their perspective. So what about the other 199,999 people that you got to look at too? So I will tell you, this is a job that makes you do a lot of introspect to yourself and your soul. And it's not for the faint of heart. I appreciate everything the farmers here said tonight. I think it was heard loud and clear. But I think it's also loud and clear that we have to do something. And what that something is, I'm not sure. I appreciate y'all.
Commissioner Brown? any
I'm
update?
good. I think we've talked it out tonight.
I just had a brief one I want to share. I had a unique opportunity. Our Iredell County Library Director, Julie, had reached out to me and said, would you like to take part in the state level convention where they would get together and discuss challenges throughout the state, celebrate various different things, but they also wanted to hear perspective from elected officials or managers of towns or cities. So there was three of us on a panel. And this was up in Blowing Rock. It happened to be at the same time the hurricane was coming, or not hurricane, well, I guess it was the last piece of that, but nice heavy rain, so I didn't get to wander through Blowing Rock quite as much as I'd hoped to, but those are the exciting parts, the fun parts, the celebration parts, to be able to represent Iredell County outside of Iredell County and sit on that panel and give our perspective of what it's like to be on this side, but yet hear some of the other struggles. And you think some of the most simple positions or directors or the jobs, nothing's simple anymore. It's just not. But we were able to help give insight and input and hear from those who are in the jobs of media and books and education and connection and the lifeline for some folks, because I think we don't realize a lot of times how important libraries are. It's not just about checking out a book. It is sometimes the only place that people can go do a job interview. So it was really interesting to hear that, and I was very pleased to have that opportunity to go do something a little bit different other than just make the usual routine. So I was very pleased to have the opportunity to serve. And with that, I'll just pass it on down the line here to this gentleman to my right.
The biggest thing with growth is this: we are not going to be able to manage growth by talking it to death. We never will. We will not talk it away. The only way that we will manage growth is by taking action.
Mm-hmm.
And this board has got to take action, and we got to take it quick. Very quick. I understand we want to send it up the flagpole and let other entities look at it. That's fine. But time is not on our side, folks. It is not on our side. Not with the way everything's going in this world and not the way everything's going right now. So we are not going to be able to manage growth by talking it to death. We're only going to be able to do it for the actions that the five of us, or the three of the five of us, do to take that action. That's all I got.
Commissioner Howell.
I'll just say, to Jack's point, Jack asked a question. For us to get impact fees and developer fees, it requires legislation in Raleigh. So whether that would look like putting some type of referendum on a ballot to let the people vote on, or whether they would take action themselves to pass legislation. I'm not trying to pass the buck to our legislators. I'm just telling you the facts. A lot of times people accuse us, like when we're working with the school boards and other people. Our job is to work with them and make the best decisions we can with the available funding we have and the options we have. None of us want to build a high school that doesn't have athletic facilities for now. But limitation on funding is putting us in a position to where it was a capacity bond in 2020. We got to educate the kids and get them in a seat. So we're asking the school system to look at the planning of that situation and try to make a $130 million plan to make the capacity piece work for now. And hopefully down the road we could do more, but you don't know what happens in the future. We don't have a crystal ball. The 26 county departments, the 19 fires, you heard me say the 3 educational entities, rescues, all the other things that we fund is also our responsibility, along with, so our job, I think, is to be the messenger to the taxpayers of Iredell County, is the who, when, whys, and wheres, and how much. We get shot a lot of times for being the messenger because it looks like we're beating up on the school board or we're beating up on this or that. We're not passing the buck. Our job is just to tell you what our role is and what our responsibilities and authority is. We don't control anything in the ETJs for the municipalities. We don't control what they annex, because that right now is a petition from the landowner to petition that property. Like a lot of farmers in here said tonight, they want to sell their land for the highest and best use for their family. It's a situation for longevity, or that may be somebody else's retirement. So if the municipality goes out there to Terry's point and annexes that property, then all those people are going to deal with those impacts, from roads to services to schools and all that. Then that comes to the school system and us to build those schools and educate the kids. And we've got to have the funding to do that. So I won't beat a dead horse, but I'll just tell you, like Bert said, a lot of moving parts. Our job is to tell you the options we have on the table and make the best decision we can for the majority and move on. And whether it's a 2045 or county policy or ordinances or text amendments, whatever, it's just a guiding document. None of it's in stone. We can change it and tweak it, That's what's wrong with government compared to private sector. If there's a better way, a lot of times people throw good money after a bad idea. So sometimes, to Bert's point, we got to do something to try to help without hurting more than we're helping. And that's what we're trying to do. But his point is very relevant. But I don't want to make anybody think we're kicking the school system, we're kicking the municipalities, we're kicking the legislators. We're telling you the facts and the options at our table. And we need their help to get that done, to help us with impacted developer fees. And I already talked about Nancy Keith and the Jack Jones and her people coming to the NCACC conference we were at. Brought y'all catalogs back with a lot of good information. We're one of the top counties in the state. With that comes pain and opportunity, however you want to look at it. But we live in one of the top states in the country. And got a lot of challenges to deal with nationally as well. So a lot of important things we have to look at from what we can control. And we have to identify to our taxpayers the things that are not in our control. That's all I got. Thank you.
Any new business? All right, manager's report, please.
Two things quickly, just for you to put on your calendar, October the 11th at 8:00 a.m. That is when we have scheduled the Employee and Retiree Service Awards recognition. That'll be at Cooperative Extension, again, October the 11th at 8 a.m. And then just a reminder, we'll be closed on Monday, September the 2nd, in observance of Labor Day.
All right, thank you for that. We did have closed session with nothing to report out, and we have made it to the end, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Let's get out of here.
All right, all in favor? Aye. We're unanimous, and we are adjourned. You want to stay?